Hello, and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by three friends who love cinema. I'm Gus, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Nate and Alvaro. Tonight, you'll be staying in room 113, Red Rocket, the latest film from controversial slice-of-life filmmaker Sean Baker. So go ahead, get uncomfortable, and throw on that Do Not Disturb sign as we blast off with Red Rocket.
Top of my game right now on like every single possible level. Physical stamina, my mind is sharp. I'm taking 5-HTP for serotonin in my brain.
Yeah?
Dude, with my skill and ability, there's no denying what I can do. The universe is on my side, bro.
What's going on, all you degenerates? Thanks for checking back into the Grand Cinema Hotel. Want to give a big Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. I hope you had a good one with your family and friends and, just enjoy the season. So what's going on, everybody?
How's it going, guys? Gus here. I had a good Christmas. What about you guys?
Yeah, I had a good one. It was nice. Spent some time with some family. Got
Lots
some
of good food.
Good food, presents,
Movies.
Great movies, yeah.
This was a good week to go to the movies, dude.
A lot of movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I've
stuff
seen
out.
5 this week in like a 3-day, 4-day span.
It's like movie overload right now, but I'm loving it.
Should we talk about what we saw?
Yeah, what do we see?
Let's just throw it out there because this week has had me in a really, really good mood, and I think it's because I've just been hanging out with you guys and then like the family, obviously, and the way our like break was set up, the fact that I got to go to the movies 3 days in a row is something I haven't done since I was in high school. So, and I probably, if I would have done that at that time, I might have seen the same thing twice.
Right.
But this week is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
We saw The Matrix. We saw Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up.
I saw Encanto with my family and my wife. I didn't finish it, but it was okay.
You guys saw Spider-Man, too.
Yeah, me and Rose saw Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Fun. Fun. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll talk about that later.
But ended with this one.
Yes.
Yes.
The best one.
Brings us to
Banger.
Red Rocket, yeah.
Banger of a
Wow.
movie.
Sean Baker's back. And yeah, he gave us this controversial masterpiece, honestly. put it like that.
Yeah. Should we start with the discourse around this movie?
Yeah.
We might as well just talk about it
Yeah,
now.
let's
right?
just get it out of the way. Obviously, there's a big plot in this movie that a lot of people are kind of up in arms about. That is very controversial. You want to talk about that, guys?
Yeah, so the movie is about a washed-up adult film star who's returning back to his hometown, and through his misadventures that he has while he's there, he meets a 17-year-old girl who's in high school, which we looked up and found out that the age of consent in Texas is 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We're from California, so obviously we see that a little bit differently, and it is quite uncomfortable to watch in the movie.
Yeah.
But I do think that this movie is like pushing the boundaries and challenging you of like how far will you go to root for a bad guy?
Right.
Which we as people, not to indict everyone, but we as people love watching stuff about bad people.
Of course. For some reason, we're just so fascinated by it. I feel like people are drawn to
I
bad
have a weird
people.
history of seeing movies about pieces of shit on Christmas. I've seen Red Rocket now with you guys. 2 years ago, before the pandemic, me and Ro, my wife, and one of my good friends, we saw Uncut Gems.
Yep.
I've seen
Classic.
Django Unchained with my father and my sister on Christmas. Not Django, but obviously Leonardo DiCaprio's character is a gigantic piece of shit. With my mom and and when my wife was my girlfriend, we saw The Wolf of Wall Street on Christmas Day. So, and then another funny one is that I've seen Alien vs. Predator Requiem on Christmas Day.
Oh, what a banger. What a banger.
But yeah, just America loves to celebrate pieces of shit on Christmas.
For some reason, it just almost makes you feel a little bit better about yourself and the situation that you're in, I kind of think. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an interesting juxtaposition.
I mean, the reality is that these situations happen all the time in these places.
And I think it's kind of like what we talked about with Licorice Pizza. It's like if I have to see this, I'd rather it be in a movie instead of watching some documentary recalling, these types of things.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's what Sean Baker does as a director. Like, he really, like, all of his movies are kind of about people on, not necessarily the fringes of society, but not that are shown, like, in the public light, I guess.
Yeah.
So this movie, I mean, yeah, this happens a lot. This happens all the time. I don't think this movie is glorifying the situation in any way, but it's just presenting it in a very factual, like, this happens. And I mean, like, personally, like, I know a lot of people that grew up in girls that it happens to. So
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, obviously, but the way that America is set up, they different rules in different places, and what happens in this movie is legal, but it's morally illegal.
Morally
I would say.
fucked.
Yeah, it's morally
it really-
fucked,
it's-
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Just wrong.
It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, I'm surprised this isn't. People aren't as up in arms about this movie as they were about Licorice Pizza.
That's what I
And
was.
It's like, and if you've seen
yeah.
Licorice Pizza is basically innocent compared to this movie.
Very
Yeah,
innocent.
exactly.
Not to put one against the other, but
It's
they're
interest-
totally
It's
different.
interesting that these two movies come out back to back. I think.
yeah.
I did think you made an interesting point before we started recording that his movies are showing you what's legal in the U.S., but like, should it be legal? Like, even questions that, like, in terms of, yes, this is legal, but is it morally right?
It's like pointing a mirror back at the weird laws we have in some places.
It's like, oh, you don't like this? Well, this is where we live. Like, this happens.
Yeah. I know you said that you're, oh, well, Nate, you're the Sean Baker guy out of the three of us, right? I've only seen half of Tangerine. I never got to finish it. And the Florida Project seemed a little too depressing for me.
It's really good.
I didn't
yeah.
want to schedule a crying session, so that's why I haven't seen it. But
Yeah, this like I said, Sean Baker, he seems to like he deals with these gritty, like really American issues and stuff that goes on. And Tangerine I liked a lot. Florida Project I thought was phenomenal. Really liked that movie. And then there was this one. And I think this is my favorite out of all of his so far. It's not quite as up and down, like, emotionally as the Florida Project is. But I really like this movie. I thought it was super complete.
I think the nature of the story is probably why it doesn't have the ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's to the level, right? It's taking it
Yeah.
to the max. It's like a maximalist movie of like for the character. You know what I mean?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I know Ro talked about this and many other people have mentioned this too, but it's got a similar vibe to Uncut Gems.
Definitely. Like, you see this character who kind of... You don't really want to call him hijinks because I think the stakes are a little bit higher than that in the fact that he's, like, manipulating people and, taking advantage of people like that. But you just see him kind of bounce around and go through these different situations, and you're just kind of like, I don't know, like, these movies give you, like, they present this character with so many opportunities to do right and to make the correct decision, and each new instance that happens, you're kind of on the edge of your seat, like, is he going to finally make the correct decision? But of course not, and you're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen.
They always craft their way to make something not either morally right or wrong, but right in the middle, as it's beneficial to them. And you're like, oh, I guess they always make it seem like they have a bigger intent to like how I don't want to get too much into it actually, but it always seems like they create their own truth, and you fall into that same truth when you're watching the movie, and you start to like almost root for them. But then you morally know that you shouldn't be rooting for somebody like this. And I think that's what makes these movies really good, is you have, like, even in your head, you're having this dynamic of like, why am I rooting for him? But also he deserves to not get what he wants. But I also, in the terms of like, because this movie's a lot longer than a lot of like indie films, I would say, like at least that 30 minutes more. And I think I wouldn't take out any part of it either. It's like very integral to like what you said at the end of it. You're like, you should be rooting against him.
Yeah, because it's like these movies try to gain, like, you almost feel sympathy towards this character. And, like, there's some points in the movie where I even felt you're like, oh, he is trying. Like, you see him out there, like, mowing the lawn, and he's doing these things for, like, he is doing his part. But at the end of the day, he's not. Like, you really do kind of get sucked into the,
people like him
to their
have
point
this
of view.
way of, like you said, having sympathy for them. But then as soon as one little layer is revealed, it's, oh, the world is against me. I'm not doing this shit. Why should I have to? And then you start to, the more the layers get peeled back, you realize, like, you have put yourself in a lot of these situations that you don't have to put yourself in.
And you start to see the hypocrisy behind the actions that he has. And you start to see how he repeats the same cycle over and over again.
Yeah.
Like when he, like what I said a couple minutes ago, when he finally gets to the point to make the correct decision, he just goes back to doing the same thing over and over again.
I think we get a little bit of the dynamic of how we feel about this movie, even in him as a character, because he like goes out. He is from there, then he goes out to California, and then comes back, and he never wanted to come back, is a lot of what we get in the movie. And I think even he just feels like he's too big for this place now, and so everything he does is try to like this plan for him to get back to where he thinks he belongs, right? And I think even like we see that in his actions, like he doesn't really care about these people in any way. So
he thinks he's the king of Texas City and he's riding around on a bicycle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And he's truly, yeah, exactly.
I just feel like not on the like dating a 17-year-old aspect, but I feel like we all know people who are not just guys, but people who are like this.
The opportunist.
This opportunist, exploiter, suitcase pimp mindset, right? We all know people like this. Just people you meet along the way. You know, it might be someone, a friend's friend, or whatever. There's always a guy like this or a girl like this who's, I'm a hustler. I do this, I do that. Just they're selling you this image of
fast
themselves
talkers.
that is not true.
Yeah.
And you can smell the bullshit from a mile away.
And they never change.
And they never change.
Because that parallel between this character, Simon Rex's character, Mikey, and America itself, I felt was very prevalent in this movie. Like the idea of American opportunity and how America really does just take and take and take, like paralleled with the oil fields and stuff like that. How we really just, take and take and don't give anything back. And I think that's why this setting really worked well for this movie.
This is a beautiful movie, too. Like, absolutely gorgeous. I think it needs to be nominated in any cinematography category at any award show.
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, film wins. Like, it
Film
really
wins.
does.
We talked about this with the Nightmare Alley episode, that I thought that movie should have been shot on film to reflect the grittiness of the time and the story. And this gave me exactly what I wanted. It did that perfectly. Just so many like shots in this movie just look like perfect photos, right? And the film that they used was so grainy
That
that
it
it felt
16 millimeter.
It looks like it's shot on 16
Okay.
millimeter, because I was listening to an interview before this, and that was the intent, was to make it look like that.
Gotcha. They did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what the cinematographer did. It's Drew Daniels. He's from Texas.
Yeah.
He did It Follows at Night, Waves.
No, it comes at night.
It Comes at Night, sorry. Yeah. Those are the only two.
And
that-
Waves. And I saw that he also DP'd 2 episodes of Euphoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I think, have you guys seen Waves?
I have not seen
I have not. I've wanted to for it's become years now.
Yeah.
I've wanted to see it. But that movie looks gorgeous as well. So he's just one of those guys where it's like, I don't really care what the subject matter is. I want to make it look good.
Yeah,
And I
no.
always appreciate that when there's cinematographers, it's not a certain style or aesthetic or not style and aesthetic, but a certain type of movie that they go towards. Like, I do sci-fi, I do war movies or whatever, but just hire me and I'll make a shit look good.
Yeah, he really did. He
Because the
did a
Florida
great
Project
job.
is shot on film too, right?
It looks like it. I can't confirm that, but it does look like
It probably
at least.
is, but I know that his first movie, Tangerine, was shot on iPhone.
That was the reason why I heard of that movie. We talked about it a long time ago.
Yeah, he was on the forefront of that, really. And then we
Yeah.
got Steven Soderbergh doing. Have you seen Unsane?
I haven't seen it, but
I like that
do
movie.
know about
Out of
it.
the iPhone movies that I've seen, I think that's the best one.
No, the cinematography in this movie was phenomenal. Just some of the scenes, like of the gas stations and just just all the oil fields and everything. Like it really reminds me of because I went out to school out there and just driving road trips back and forth from California in here. It's so nostalgic.
It's nostalgic for you?
Yeah, it's like I've been
That's
in that
cool.
city before. For
Gritty
real.
always makes it look like the shadows at night. It just looks so good on film. And the story where it has to do with something controversial or the character isn't very likable, it almost adds the dynamic that even the lens that we're seeing him through, So I love when movies like this are shot on gritty film like that.
It just makes it look so much better. And it really does add to the story. And usually I'm not someone who would say that digital versus film, it doesn't really matter. But if you have a preference, give me film every time.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool that we know that his first movie shot on the iPhone, and he goes from that to this. And that's why I was wondering if Florida Project is shot on film, because it's that was my entryway for them to give me a chance. And now I know, but yeah, of course I would rather shoot it on film,
Hell yeah. It really does add to a story I'm not going to shit on digital too much. There's a ton of movies
No,
shot
of
on
course.
digital that I love, but just
It's just
nothing
different.
beats film.
Yeah,
dude.
it's just
nothing
different.
beats film. So this film is directed by Sean Baker. It's written by Sean Baker and his co-writer. I have the name right here.
Chris Bergach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
wrote,
frequent collaborators.
They wrote Tangerine together too, I think.
I think, and the Florida Project as well.
Might have, yeah.
Yeah, so they are obviously a good team. Keep going, guys.
They're on the same page, yeah.
Make it work,
Seriously,
whatever happens.
I'm loving your stuff. For
and the
real.
film is also edited by Sean Baker as well.
Wow.
So a lot of
Nice.
control over his own movie. My only negative with this movie, I thought, was the pacing in some parts. I thought the middle was a little one note repetitive.
Kind of. I can feel that.
Yeah. There's a character named Lonnie in the film where he is very pivotal to a certain thing that happens in the movie, but I felt like his character was kind of underdeveloped.
Yeah.
But it has to do with the nature of the film, is that Simon Rex's character manipulates and exploits people. So they don't really have any agency, any of them, except for Strawberry, who we'll talk about later.
Exactly. Like, he's not even more of a character as he is like an object or a tool.
They're NPCs
Yeah.
in his life.
I think that's what the movie is. That's why it's done very well. You have that dynamic. Like, we don't know enough about him, neither does he. But yet he plays a big part of something that could derail his whole plan.
Yeah. And for it to be like, what, like I'm joking, like an NPC is kind of funny to me. But this movie is like, we've talked about this before. Actually, I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, but like in our other conversations, just like people have main character syndrome.
Yep.
And obviously it's a movie, but this is a movie about a guy who has main character syndrome.
100%. I was thinking about that when we were watching it too.
Main character
Yeah.
syndrome.
Like this guy knows he's the main character of his life and everybody's just along for the ride. And if it comes to bite him in the ass, we'll find out later. I highly recommend seeing this movie if you're willing to have your sense of what makes you comfortable pushed.
I mean, definitely. I think I would highly recommend this movie too. If you can get past that one aspect of it, then, I mean, yeah, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you guys want to dive into the movie now?
Yeah, let's talk
All
about
right.
it.
So we have Simon Rex coming out of basically nowhere again.
Yeah, I mean, I know him from Scary Movie like 3.
And I know you
then-
know him from his rap career
Yeah,
as
Dirt
well,
Nasty.
right?
Yeah, his collaborations with Andy Milonakis, but
When I was a kid, I never thought that he was a bad actor.
No.
I thought he was funny. I mean, I loved scary movies
And-
up until a point, like everybody else. But I kind of just, it's not like I was sitting here wondering where he was, but to see his face in a movie again, I was like, oh, I remember him.
Yeah.
Like, where's he been?
it definitely surprised me. And when I saw that this movie was like during, the trailer and like the buzz before it, it's going to be about this kind of a shitty person. And I was just thinking like his rap career, like Dirt Nasty, he's always like this kind of scummy, dirty guy. Like, I'm like, this can be perfect. So it was good
Yeah.
to see him in something.
Let's talk about Simon Rex before we get into the actual movie. I have so many notes about this guy. It's crazy how his life is so similar to this character of Mikey in real life. So Simon Rex, he's from the Bay Area, I believe. And when he was 19 years old in 1993, he responded to an ad in a magazine to do nude photographs for this photographer, which led to him being in the adult film industry for a while. And he says that he took the job to take care of his girlfriend and her son at the time, which is kind of similar to this
Yeah,
movie,
for real.
right? Like the plot. And then when I guess his girlfriend at the time was trying to be an actor as well. He was at a casting with her watching The Kid, and a casting agent saw him. And the next day he was on a flight to Milan to be in the Tommy Hilfiger fashion tour
What a
that they were
trip.
doing. Yeah, they just found him out of nowhere, like out of obscurity. And then he went on to be in Calvin Klein, Versace, and Levi's campaigns.
Interesting.
And then in 1995, he was a VJ on MTV. Are you familiar with that kind of stuff, Nate?
I don't
Do
even
you know about
know.
like TRL and things like that?
No.
Oh man! Wow, what a gap, right? We're not even that much older than him, but I know you know this,
Yeah,
bro. TRL. They used to play music videos on MTV, believe it or not.
Oh, okay, I know that.
So no, but it was a show where there's like a DJ, but he played like he curated.
They were
his
video
favorite
jockeys.
That makes
videos.
sense. I got you. Well,
And
I've
like
seen
a,
that.
There's
I
like a
didn't
live studio audience and stuff like
Gotcha.
that. So he was one of those people. What good times, man.
Those are fun.
Yeah, I used to love MTV. Oh man, showing my
That's when
age, I
MTV
guess.
was cool.
But
The last of it.
he was in MTV for a while, and then he got his break in acting. I know he was in a lot of smaller roles, and like the biggest thing he's ever really done is scary movie stuff. But it's crazy that he doesn't have the career of Adam Sandler, but he's having his Adam Sandler Uncut Gems moment.
Yeah.
Because Adam Sandler had proven himself a few times before, like with Punch Drunk Love, Funny People. What's that movie? Spanglish. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have seen
Yeah.
that.
So like every once in a while, Adam Sandler's willing to pop in and remind you that he can act. But Simon Rex, this is basically coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, to do absolutely pretty much, almost nothing to
Parody films.
yeah,
basically.
to hitting so hard on what is, I mean, it is a comedy, but it's also very serious, and he hits very hard. So.
I think it just goes to show you can't rush your moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you're in the industry for a while or whatever you do, your moment is gonna come like when it's the right time.
Yeah.
And I've seen now that he signed with an agency, probably again, I'm sure he was before, but that he signed with an agency now, and now he's already going to be in something else.
I was going to say he'll probably explode now.
We're in the Simon Rex-assance.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I really liked him in this, so I'm excited to see him in other stuff too.
I mean, he just plays the perfect charismatic piece of shit.
Yeah, his charisma is ridiculous.
On my Letterboxd review, I put Simon Rex, you disgusting charismatic piece of shit.
It's the perfect role for him. It sounds like, honestly.
Yeah, which kind of fucked up too. And it's like, you know, what's the perfect role for you to play the
scumbag.
worst person. So, you guys ready to talk about the plot a little bit?
Yeah.
We won't do spoilers, right?
We'll try to
Or
stay away from. I mean, there's not a whole lot of spoilers.
You kind of got to
but-
tread lightly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's like one you could give out some things, but it's best to watch this movie without having know nothing about it, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So tread lightly if this doesn't sound like something that's interesting to you, or if it sounds like, I don't know. I hope it doesn't sound like we're trying to make light of the movie, but it is a comedy movie and it deals with some real ass shit. So take it as you will, I guess. I know it sounds funny, but I guess trigger warning going into the movie,
Yeah.
right? Like if you look it up, I would say before you go in, because you don't want to be surprised by this. So the movie is Red Rocket, obviously. Simon Rex, and he plays Mikey Saber, and I have him written down. I put a penniless, beaten up former adult film star who returns to his hometown of Texas City. And that's really where our movie starts.
Yeah, he just strolls into town and he makes his way to his ex-wife's place and tries to shack up.
I thought it was hilarious that, you know, like they say, like absence makes the heart grow fonder. Mm-hmm. Not in this case.
No.
So when they are a married couple, and once upon a time when they were young, they were the hot young things, and they left to go to California and star in the adult film industry, which worked out for a while until it doesn't. And that's kind of a similar theme in Mikey's life, is that things are going well until they're not.
It seems like she kind of got chewed up and spit out, and he stayed over there.
Yeah, he was able to make his career last a little longer than her, but I guess in that industry, it always comes to an end at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's back in Texas now, and he's trying to get a job, and he's trying to explain like the gap in his resume. He's telling people to Google him,
Yeah,
which is probably not the
exactly.
smartest thing to do at a job interview,
so
especially if
funny.
you're in that industry.
It's so
I mean, no hate on the industry itself, but I could see why, especially in
17-year gap.
Texas, right, where
Yeah.
this is not going to be something they're down with.
Small town.
So
yeah.
he's basically unhireable at this point.
All of his stories about being recognized are really funny too.
Yeah. And this is where you really get to see him show off his like mile a minute way of talking. And I think that's why the script is so well written too, is because when it flows like that and it feels like real, it just hits on another
It's because,
level.
like, I mean, like we talked about, like, you know, people like this. They say like 5 paragraphs to you when they really said nothing. It's like, what did you just say?
There's certain people where you meet them and it's like, want to hear my life story?
It's almost like they just try to like break you down until you just give in to whatever they want. It's like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and I think that goes to the like the exploiting side of his personality, which is what he is best at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so after he's not able to get a job, this leads him into slanging the bud,
Yeah, you gotta make money somehow.
right? Which is funny that in California, this is like you're not gonna make any money doing this, really.
They even talked about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but in Texas, takes place in 2016 or 2015. I'm guessing,
Something.
right? Because it's
For
there's an outline of Trump in this movie here and there. He just, he appears on TV. There, "Make America Great Again" signs, just kind of laying the foundation of like the world that we're in. And shoot, I kind of got lost on my point there because I started talking about Trump. He's got a way of doing that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Damn it! Now I'm on a Trump train.
no, you were just talking about the date of the movie because he's not president yet. It's
Oh,
when
yeah.
he's like
It's when he's
running for the election.
campaigning.
Because you still hear Ted Cruz talking too. So there's still the Republican.
It's like
the Republican conventions. It's
Yeah.
like 2015.
so it's like 2015, 2016. Weed's not legal in Texas.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
there you
it's
go.
now like it's like medically legal, but in the time, you're still slinging it.
Weed's not legal in Texas, but 17-year-olds are.
Yeah,
Interesting.
right.
Very interesting, Texas.
So yeah, that leads him to what's the character's name? Her name is Leandra, right? Yeah. She's kind of like this. She's a mother, and she's kind of like the weed lady. She's a plug in the town.
She's the plug. Yeah. The character, her daughter in this movie.
June?
Yeah, the character June. I thought she was hilarious.
I did too. She's really funny. She didn't take no shit.
And she did. Yeah, she sniffs out Mikey's bullshit from the second she sees him. And I would say she's his main antagonist in this movie.
Probably, yeah. Besides
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah, besides himself, obviously. He's the villain of this movie.
What I did
but
like
he's also the main character.
What I did like about that whole dynamic with that family is the fact that Leandra is like she's the woman of the household, and then it's almost like her protege is her daughter June, and then she has like two sons or like there's some men in the
There's a son, and I don't know if it's a friend or a cousin.
but
or
they
something
look
like
down
that.
on them. They're like below the two women of the household. I just thought it was a cool little dynamic of the movie.
Yeah, her son can't even find hot sauce without her.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was
And
funny.
the world, did you say the world would go to an end without me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
basically. Hey, with all mothers, man, that's how it is. They don't believe in Mikey, but they do give him a chance, which is just something he's good at doing. I would say he's the type of person who snatches victory from the jaws of defeat.
and he does prove himself, but he also goes against their wishes because she has like one like stigma
Specific
for him,
set of people.
which is don't sell to the construction workers. And what does he do? He sells all to the construction workers.
Yeah, he's making all his money from these guys.
It's like so he's proving himself, but while also going against their wishes, which just shows you like you really can't do anything right.
I think it's what you're talking about earlier with like these people who know not to do something, but they can't help themselves.
Right.
And it's just like, well, I was doing what I had to do. And it's like, yeah, but I asked you not to do that.
They can't
specifically.
understand because it doesn't involve their own desires and end goals. So yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
see the big picture.
So him selling weed gets him to. This is like a through line throughout the movie, and it gets him to our other main character of this movie. She's played by Susanna Sun, and they call her Strawberry.
Yeah. God damn it.
Yeah, I know, right? We get a line later on in the movie about how she already has the perfect adult film industry name. She
Yeah.
doesn't even need to come up with the name.
God damn it.
Oh man, this is where the movie starts to get controversial.
Yep.
And when we first meet her, she's 3 weeks from being 18.
Yeah,
So I guess that's where the.
that's really where the controversy starts.
Yeah,
is the
because
fact that she's a 17-year-old
You
high
were
school
talking
girl.
about like she's 17 and in Texas that's legal. So then she's 1 year over, which then later leads us to be like, why did he wait the 3 weeks? Which later down the line, maybe we find out why, or there's like a theory as to why you would think so. But I guess like what I was trying to say is that she's not barely the legal age at this point. Like by the time that she's like he's like waiting on it, you know, maybe that's the reason why it's a little less for anybody that's out there. It's like a little less right at the borderline. It's like when they go, she was 19, not 18. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It-
mean,
it's
there's no
bad.
there's no getting around it that it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say. I mean, obviously, like we said with the Licorice Pizza episode, the Grand Cinema Hotel does not condone these
Yeah,
things.
no.
But also, I know that movies that challenge you are about real shit,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not always as black and white as people would like them to be. I'm sorry that that's how movies are, but if you don't like it, then don't watch movies that are gonna push your sensibilities.
You just really get a look into how predatory he is. It's just bad. Like the grooming that transpires throughout this movie is absolutely terrible. I mean, you even see like after he meets her for the first time, he goes to that Lonnie character like we were talking about, and he's like, "Dude, she's perfect. She's 17. She has no dad. She's like, it's just like, oh my god."
Where even though you think he comes off like he's a good guy, but when you're really listening to what he's saying, you realize he's awful.
Like he's like she checked all the boxes to be a good person to groom. It's like, dude, like, oh my god, like how fucking horrible are you?
I know.
So that's where that starts, and yeah, she works at the donut shop, and he kind of just starts spending a lot of time there, and they like
He just
build
starts
this-
creeping on
Yeah,
her.
he just spends time around her and like builds this
He becomes obsessive instantly.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that a movie like this is even as controversial as it is being like pretty universally acclaimed by critics. And when you go back and you look at movies like Lolita and stuff like that, or like Leon and the Professional, or Leon the Professional, and just like it's weird that this is something that we're like okay with seeing in movies, but I think it's because it's like, well, this is a movie, and movies just have a way of doing that. We know this is awful, but I'm not going to tell you it's awful. It's up for you to decide that. it's like a moral test for your own for yourself.
Exactly. And that goes back to what I think Sean Baker does good as a director is he gives you these different scenarios and lets you decide. He's not the judge. He lets the audience decide whether this is wrong or right. So.
Yeah. I mean, I love when a director leaves things like this up to you. I mean, not specifically this, but you know what I mean. I like when directors leave. It's up to you to like take how you take this movie, and especially how this movie ends as well.
Right.
It's a very open-ended ending, and depending on how you feel about Mikey at the end, you're kind of set with this like choose your own ending. Does he do what we think he's gonna do, or does he finally do the right thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really hard movie to talk about. I'm gonna say that. So if this episode sounds a little like disfigured,
Like choppy or something.
choppy, yeah, I just feel like it's because we're trying to tread so lightly on a controversial topic.
But I do have to say, I thought this movie was hilarious.
Yeah,
It had a lot of funny moments.
funniest movie I've seen in a long time.
I thought it was really funny, man. But yeah.
There's just so many things he says that are so obviously. It's not that they're written as jokes, but he's such a joke. Like, and that's the point of the movie is that this guy is an absolute like washed up joke. He's trying to redeem himself, but I see him as someone who has passed second and third chances already.
Oh,
this is the
dude.
kind of guy who's on like his 15th chance,
real, like,
and he's still fucking up.
Yeah, like they're not even keeping track anymore. Like one of my favorite parts about this movie was it's one of my favorite scenes. I think you just really got like the feel for who he is. It's towards the beginning, but the dude has no clothes or anything, so he goes to this weird like backyard clothes sale, yard sale type thing or whatever. And he's just bargaining for clothes. Like he thinks that he's this big hotshot dude, and he's buying these used clothes out of some lady's old RV. Like you know what I mean?
And he's riding a bike.
And he's like trying to haggle her for this ashtray, and then he gets the ashtray and he gives it as like a present to
His mother-in-law.
his mother-in-law. And it's just so like, oh my god, like your brain has to be so convoluted to like make you think that you're like a good person. And that's like a cool thing to do. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. I did want to mention the character played by his wife. That sounds weird. But her name is Brie Elrod, and she plays Lexi. She was also a big hot shot like Mikey was at one point, but she burned out a lot earlier in the industry. And they seem to have this dynamic where Mikey looks down on her, even though they're not too far away from being the exact same person. They only have a few things that are different about them, where he feels like he has this like higher ground on her, and he seems to have this like idea that he's a lot bigger, like you're saying, like bigger than the people around him. Like, well, I'm back here by accident. I shouldn't still be here.
It's like this is where you guys are supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be here. Like
Yeah.
that mentality.
But she's his estranged wife, and she lives in this like shitty little house right outside of like oil fields
With her
and stuff
mom,
like that.
yeah.
With their mom, and they don't appear to work at all.
no, it doesn't look like it.
Seems like they're on drugs.
Yeah, that's what like this movie it touches like super lightly on some things that are just such a big part of like these lower income areas and places that like BFE Texas out in the middle of nowhere. Like Lexi says that her mom like her insurance or whatever like doesn't give her as much medication as she used to. So now she's smoking heroin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just and that's not even a big part of the movie, but he just touches so lightly on these serious problems that places like these have, and like that's just what makes this movie so good, I think.
Yeah, I think what you said is that it's not like anybody is really okay with what's going on in this movie, but so many people in these areas who are going to see this movie, they're just like, yeah, that's like
Probably
another
super
day in the life
relatable.
outside.
Right.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh man, I have like for like themes and ideas of this movie, I put exploitation, a ground level look at modern American life, sexual morality, keeping hope alive even in our lowest moments, and I don't know what I meant when I wrote this, but hard luck Americana.
I like it. No, I agree. I think that the themes that I really took away is I kind of talked about it earlier, but the American opportunism in the country itself and in the people that live in it. And then honestly, I like the idea. I don't really know how to phrase it, but just like I guess it's manipulation. But the way that Simon Rex's character like gives these people he has almost hope and then just rips it away just continuously. I just thought that was a really interesting point of this movie. So.
Yeah, I thought the best part of this movie was Bye Bye Bye, obviously.
Now, yeah. Every time I hear that song, I'm
I
going to
was a
think
big
of this
NSYNC
movie.
fan when I was a little kid. Huge. Like,
And
that was my favorite music.
That's so funny. And what I actually thought was funny about that is Susanna's son, the lady who played Strawberry. She was the one who introduced the song to the movie. I guess it was not in the original screenplay, and she kind of brought it up with Sean Baker, and it became almost like the theme song.
Yeah. So I would say my takeaways from this movie is that it's gorgeous, beautiful. Insert any word here to describe the cinematography. It's well directed. I think the pacing is a little like weird in the middle. That's probably my only negative about it. And Simon Rex is a revelation.
Yeah.
That's what I have right now.
Well, welcome to the big screen, man.
I really want to see him in more stuff, and I would really like to see this movie again.
Yeah, I want to see this movie again, and I'm curious to see, like, is he going to switch up is he going to be like a typecast in this, or like for the rest of his career, or will
Yeah.
he switch it up? So I'm curious to see.
I mean, who knows? Adam Sandler went right back to Hubie Halloween after doing Uncut Gems, so
They do another scary
maybe he'll
movie.
just go back into obscurity.
He warned them.
Yeah, he did tell them.
Did tell them.
If I don't win an Oscar, I'm going to make the worst movie you've ever seen. And it's still not the worst movie I've ever seen. The worst movie I've ever seen is Bud's House.
The whole time watching this, though, it just seemed like it was what would happen to Dirk Diggler if he went back home.
Oh, yeah, I get you. This is very similar to that. It's like an even worse version of Boogie Nights. Yeah.
It's Boogie Nights on meth.
It's like it's like you at Boogie Nights 2. Like it just happens. What happens after all of the shit that we saw in the first one?
I know you have a joke that you wrote about
Oh,
the Licorice Pizza versus
this
Red Rocket.
movie. It was like Licorice Pizza, hold my meth. Oh, I forgot about that.
All right, guys. Are you guys ready to wind this
Yeah,
down?
yeah.
I think so.
I'm cool.
I don't really have much more to say without getting into the actual nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, then
of the movie.
after kind of what we talked about, it starts getting to crucial plot points, I think.
Okay.
So
So, want to rate this?
yeah, what do you guys
I'm going to give this 4 AVNs out of 5.
For AVNs.
I'm gonna give this 4.5.
4.5?
AVNs out of
I
5.
heard you say that this was probably one of your favorite films of the year.
This is probably gonna make my top 10 list. I love this movie. I thought it was phenomenal.
Nice. So 2 4s and a 4.5. Okay.
4.5. 4.5. 4.
You're gonna go 4?
Yeah, 4.5. I think. The more I think about it, the more I like it.
4.37.
Yeah, something.
I just thought it could have been a little bit shorter and still gotten some of the same points
I can
across.
dig it. I know like what you're talking about some of the like spots in the middle where it dragged, but I honestly liked it all. So
Yeah, I think what it may have been though is that like the Strawberry and Mikey stuff is a little repetitive.
it does get repetitive, I
Right?
think.
It's like, okay, you've been on like 6 dates now.
That's
Like, and I understand the dynamic of this
yeah, you're
relationship.
like, we
by
don't
this
need
point.
to see another one.
Yes. Stop my eyes! My eyes!
Oh, man.
All right, so I guess we're gonna, as a group, give this a 4.5, which I don't mind doing. But yeah, I think Red Rocket is one of the best ones of the year. I hope to see it get some awards love because they fucking snubbed the Green Knight and Titan because
Dude,
of
I
course
know.
they did.
They're killing our loved ones.
Cowards. Yeah. Do we have a code word for the episode?
Oh God.
All right, I got one. If you made it this far into the episode, DM us, Google me, bro, at the Grand Cinema Hotel on Instagram. If you're listening to us on YouTube, hopefully it hasn't been flagged by this point. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think of this movie. I'm sure you're going to have an opinion after
Yeah.
saying this, if you do.
For real.
And I wanted to talk about how next week is going to be our last episode of 2021. And I think we're going to do something we've been talking about called Lobby Talk, where it's going to be a more general conversation about movies as a whole. We'll probably talk about The Matrix and Don't Look Up and some of the other things we saw because we do have good things to say about those. We'll probably talk about the future of the podcast, what we're going to
Probably.
do in 2022. So I think it's going to be a really
Maybe
fun
some,
time.
Some Oscar nom talk or something.
Yeah. The podcast's dynamic is definitely going to be different in the new year, and it's going to be more of what we originally wanted. This was just such a banger of a year that
Yeah.
we were like, okay, we have to talk about these movies right now. I wanted us to be I know I sound a little Mikey here. I wanted us to be on the forefront, bro. You know what I mean?
We had
Like,
to be seasoned, bro.
yeah, exactly. I wanted us to be able to talk about these as they came out because sadly, I feel like movies don't have a long shelf life anymore. So if you're not talking about it when it comes out, you might just miss the discourse altogether.
True.
So, Merry Christmas, guys, because
Yeah.
yesterday was Christmas. I hope you guys all had a good one. We're really excited for the new year, and yeah, man.
We got a lot of good stuff.
We got a
coming
lot
out,
of good
I
stuff
think.
coming up.
Yeah, it should be good.
I'm really excited, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's been with us on this journey so far. I want to thank you two guys, obviously,
thank you
for
guys.
doing this with me. And yeah, man, Grand Cinema Hotel forever.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.